I'm Madjo John Madden in the little parquet across the street from my hostel in Cancun. Sunday morning at 8:30. If all goes according to plan, this morning I'm going to walk down to the OXXO by the bus terminal. There's a couple of them down there. Cash a couple of MoneyGrams. Pay for my hostel room for the last 2 nights. Then go back down there and catch a bus towards Playa del Carmen, where I have to go and stop before going on to Cozumel, because that's the end of the ADIO route. Guess you'd have to get some other bus after that. So that's what should happen this morning. I expect it will, but can't ever be positive. I never made a video describing my all-night walkabout Friday morning after I got back from my abortive trip to Isla Mujeres. I did make a couple little videos during that walkabout, but my phone died around 5:30 and I want to just capture the overall picture. My trip to Isla Mujeres fell apart mostly because of poor planning and not enough money. I never did the research. I did not know that the only way really for me to see the island would have been a golf cart. I could have gotten my friends Norm and Nancy used bikes, but I have a knee that won't accommodate a bike. And golf carts were 1,700 pesos per day, which was way out of my league. So that trip fell apart. I ended up catching a 11 p.m. ferry back to Cancun to Puerto Juarez, where I expected I would be able to catch a bus back to the ADIO terminal, because the ferry runs all night. ADIO terminal is busy with buses all night, so it made sense that the bus would be running from the ferry downtown, but it was not. No, I got out on the street in front of the terminal at 11:30, sat there for a half an hour before I gave up, realized there was no bus, and there was no possible way to walk the whole way back. It had been a long bus ride there earlier that same night, or that afternoon. I guess that afternoon. Yeah, evening, early evening. But what else was I going to do? It was less boring. I wasn't going to just sit there all night. It did not feel unsafe, but it just was going to be too boring. And so I'm pacing rather than sitting, because it's in harmony with the story I'm about to tell. And I'm going to tell the story from 11:30 when I started to walk until 1:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, what's that? 14 hours of walking with 1 2-hour break, attempting to sleep in the sand. Not the only time I've walked all night. I have been literally, absolutely homeless without a camper van. I'm guessing something like 14 nights over 4 years. And usually I've spent the whole night walking, because most places I've been, it was not safe. Most places where homeless people are, it's not safe for them at night, and they often do walk all night. And the other thing I'm just getting used to is how much more planning and more money your life needs when you don't have a camper van. When I was like a turtle with my home on my back for 4 years, you just stop where you stop and sleep where you sleep. But if you're on foot and need hotels, it's way more expensive and requires a lot more planning. And I have found that out to my consternation. So I walked. At one point, and then only afterwards did I realize this meant I had not covered much ground, because I saw Puerto Juarez on some big building next to the OXXO. I had encountered an OXXO. I went in and got a soda with my last remaining money. And went across from the OXXO and attempted to sleep at a bus stop, concrete bench. Couldn't get comfortable on the concrete bench. And then saw across the street, the same side of the street as the OXXO, there was a wooden bench with slats, and that pinched my skin, and I couldn't do that. And I attempted to sleep on the table in front, wood, not concrete, but still plenty hard and not comfortable, so I resumed walking. Around 3 in the morning, I had been walking along the water in the direction that seemed to me was going back downtown. It was only later I found out the whole time I was walking in the wrong direction. I did not know that. So around 3 in the morning, I discovered that I was all along the water, and a lot of places with just not much of anything, fences usually. Finally, there was no fence. There were a bunch of palapas, a little house where I heard a woman coughing in the night, and a sign saying these palapas were put here by the government for public use. So in the shade, there was a street light there, but under the palapas it was darker, and I thought I might be less likely to be seen. So I made a nest for myself in the sand under one of the palapas. Never was able to sleep. It was too busy. I realized really to sleep you need to be able to pull the curtains, close the door. And there were cars going by on the road. Periodically someone would get, the reason the Puerto Juarez sign meant that it was by the OXXO station, it was the commercial port of Puerto Juarez, right next to the ferry terminal. So I hadn't gotten very far. And the place where I got under the palapa, there were a whole lot of boats moored, and I think a lot of them had people living in them who worked at the Maritime, because there were people getting dropped off all night. And the first one who walked very near me and did not respond, I thought, he just didn't see me motionless here. Because I had been robbed on the beach in Boca del Rio not too long ago. So when I attempted to sleep on the beach in Isla Mujeres, I thought this is going to be healing, because I had been guaranteed the beach was safe, and I thought this will heal that Boca del Rio thing. Well, I didn't end up staying there, but this was the healing I needed around that, because the first guy I thought didn't see me, but then 2 guys came by carrying heavy loads right by me, and one of them commented on me to the other one, just like, oh, there's a guy sleeping there. And it made me realize, again, how different are the attitudes towards personal space, but private property in Mexico, because I'm sleeping on essentially their property. They didn't care. They just made a note. There's a guy sleeping there. It probably happens a lot. And then another guy was walking so much in my direction, I thought he was going to step on me. He walked around my legs and made no comment. Like, not a deal. Just a guy sleeping there. So I never really slept there. The dog I had picked up along the ways, who wanted to walk with me, stayed for a while. He didn't hover over me, but he would periodically make a pass. The way I knew he was there, he would come between the light and my head, and a big shadow would go across the top of my head. And I knew it was that dog, who I never gave a name, but he was awfully sweet and obviously had bonded to me, and he would periodically include me in his in this little circumference at night. So after 2 hours there, the breeze blew up so uncomfortably. I had noticed earlier in the night that if I tried to roll over and sleep on my other side, the breeze off the water was too uncomfortable. And then the breeze got really bad, so 5 o'clock I got up and walked again. And then I encountered lots of big gated condos, very expensive. I felt less comfortable there than I had by the shanties, by the water. But about 7 o'clock, I encountered a guy waiting for the bus. And yeah, he was going down to the audio terminal. But it was in the opposite direction of what I thought. And it was going to be 10 pesos, and I did have the 10 pesos. I think that's exactly what I had. And we caught the bus, and it wasn't the big red bus that I had taken out to the Puerto Juarez terminal during the day. It was a little white shuttle van with people going to work. And I got to see the belly of the beast. I got to see what it's like. All the beehive of people just making ends meet, servicing the fancy resorts for the rich lifestyle. An incredible amount of wealth in Cancun. I thought Boca del Rio was astonishingly affluent, but this is vast in scale. Condos after condos after condos, unbelievable homes, boats. Cancun, incredible wealth constellated there. So I think I'm going to make a second video about the second part of my walkabout. 7:30, I'm back down at the audio terminal, and I thought I could just walk back to my hostel because it is about a 15-minute walk from downtown. But I'll describe the next chapter of my walkabout from 7:30 to 1:30, which involved trying to find my hostel.